What is the Catholic Church's view on liberation theology? Have you ever wondered how the Catholic Church views liberation theology? This movement started in the early 1970s in Latin America. It focuses on the call of the gospel to free people from poverty and social oppression. Liberation theology combines Christian teachings with activism aimed at social justice, land reform, and labor rights. It also critiques structural inequality and class struggle, drawing from Marxist social analysis. However, the Catholic Church's official stance on liberation theology is quite complex. While the Church acknowledges the need to address poverty and injustice, it raises concerns about the movement's heavy focus on political and social liberation. The Church believes that true liberation comes from freedom from sin, which it sees as the root of human suffering and injustice. This spiritual liberation is viewed as the primary mission of the Church. Pope John Paul II and the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, led by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, later known as Pope Benedict XVI, expressed their worries about the Marxist elements in liberation theology. They felt that these elements could politicize the gospel message too much. They argued that sometimes liberation theology reduces Christian salvation to mere social or political change. The Pope emphasized that liberation should be understood more broadly, including liberation from sin and evil, not just from social or economic oppression. Despite these concerns, liberation theology has had a notable impact in Latin America. It inspired grassroots ecclesial communities that mobilized marginalized people for social and political change. Figures like Archbishop Oscar Romero became symbols of resistance against oppressive regimes, blending faith with calls for justice. From a communist viewpoint, liberation theology can be seen as an ally. It incorporates critiques of capitalism and class oppression, aligning with the goal of achieving social equality. The emphasis on liberating oppressed people resonates with communist ideals of class struggle and systemic change. However, the Church's focus on spiritual liberation and caution against full alignment with Marxist ideology creates a clear distinction between the Church's teachings and communist doctrine. In practical terms, liberation theology has encouraged the Church to engage more directly with social issues. It supports movements that challenge economic inequality and political repression. This has led to a rise in community-based activism within the Church, which represents a form of grassroots mobilization against capitalist structures. However, the Church maintains that its ultimate mission goes beyond political ideologies, focusing on the salvation of souls through Christ.